Hello there, Ray here, and today we got a new pre-release. This is 1.14.4 pre-release 6. Over the last week, Minecraft has really been pumping out the pre-releases, and I've also been on vacation for 1 week. So in this video, I'll be going over not only the changes that came out with this recent pre-release 6, but as well as all the different changes that came from all the way back as pre-release 2. I'll be talking a little bit about what these changes mean to the survival player, as well as be pointing out some more bugs that still exist, and they're pretty major. They should definitely be fixed before they come out with the full release. Now, it does seem like they are going to come out with a full release for 1.14.4 pretty soon, as they are really trying to push this along and kind of finish up the whole 1.14 thing so they can work on 1.15. So as always, if you guys notice any bugs that are still in these brand new pre-releases, be sure to go ahead and tell me about them down in the comments, as well as report them to Mojang. And this Wednesday, we will be doing the Snapshot testing streams, and those are always fun because we open up the server to the viewers so you guys can hop on with us and check out the new snapshots. With the new 1.14.4 pre-release 6 snapshot, they did some performance improvements, as well as they fixed a memory leak. Now, there is quite a few of those in the game, and they do cause problems, such as if you constantly go in and out of a game over time, it's going to fill up your entire memory, and then you're going to have to restart your Minecraft client. They also removed the camera pivoting off-centered in first person, as well as it improved upon chunk loading when traveling at high speeds. So like when you're using your piston bullet, you know how you're traveling really fast? A lot of times the chunks on the side won't load immediately. So hopefully this fixes that. So one of those bugs that they fixed was that the CPU was running at a high idle speed, and this was a big problem as people who were hosting 1.14 snapshots as well as a full release we're probably noticing that it's really hard to keep the CPU usage down low. So with this bug fix, hopefully you guys have better results when running servers on 1.14. They also fixed a rolling shutter issue which occurred on Max. What this is essentially when you kind of move past different objects, chunks of the objects look like they're kind of getting jaggedly rendered. If you move past something like a post here, it looked like it'd be really jagged when you're moving back and forth. And sometimes this can even occur in Java when you have your settings not quite right. Now, there wasn't too many bugs to do with this pre-release 6, but I'm also going to talk about the changes they made in the previous pre-releases, as well as talk about some bugs that still are in the game that are pretty major. They fixed a bug to do with villagers when buying a book would end up selling you a different book than the one you clicked on. They were still having problems on servers where the price that they showed was actually different than the price that they were actually selling the items for over here. There was a problem with the villagers demand tag, which is right here, would never go down because the villagers only do this when they're working in their workstations. And before, villagers used to work in the workstations every so often automatically, but now the villagers only go to the workstations to restock their trades. And this was causing them so that their demand was never going down as well naturally unless you trade with them until they ran out of stock and then they would restock. This also caused some other problems. There was a bug that they fixed to do with people using keyboards to put in commands in different menus. So like in this menu here, if you would just go ahead and hit enter, then it would try to connect you to a server. And that wasn't working because they changed some stuff. This has to do with them changing a lot of ways how new commands interact with the game. Like we go in to make a new world, and if you just go ahead and hit enter, it would make the new world. But if you ever like click on this one, like let's say you click on creative, and then you hit enter, it'll just start rotating through these options. Then you have to like use tab to move out of it. Because I used to just go in here and click creative and then hit enter, and then it automatically load the world, but then that changed as well. I'm sure there's tons of other little things that changed like that. They fixed the debug report commands. Now it works in worlds that have dots in them. So if I go ahead and hit enter, you can see that it pull up a report, and you can find this report in your files. They fixed a bug to do with the worlds freezing when a villager would fall into the void. Has to do with the villager kind of losing its information. But there was earlier a strange bug to do with ravagers falling in the void and just staying in the void and only falling down maybe 100 blocks and then just freezing there. The same thing was happening to iron golems as well, which was really strange I think to see. They also said that they did more performance improvements, which is always a good thing to hear. Now that's everything for pre-release 5. I also want to cover what happens in pre-releases 2 through 4 and also talk about some more bugs that are still in the game. They fixed a bug to do with mobs that can float in water were unable to walk through waterlogged blocks. There was a big problem to do with entities such as villagers. When trying to pathfind, were creating a massive amounts of lag. There was a problem to do with villagers when they're naturally spawned in the village. They really have trouble trying to find their workstations or their point of interest. This is because their detection radius was too small. Now you might have seen in my last snapshot review video, a villager just kept walking off the edges of cliffs and constantly was falling downwards on the extreme hills, and that was a bug to do with villagers as well as other mobs not avoiding taking fall damage. That's probably why in my Wither Rose farm, you guys were having the endermite that was sitting on top of the iron bar kept falling off. Typically, he should never walk off the iron bar if it's so high off the ground because he thinks he'll take damage. So hopefully with this bug fixed, we won't have to worry about endermites falling off anymore. And I'll just double check it and make sure he is high enough off so he doesn't try to pathfind. But there is a workaround for that problem. It's just put the endermite in a minecart. They fixed a bug to do with chunks refusing to unload due to incorrect player ticket. And it's never good when a chunk just decides to not unload, because over time you'll accumulate a lot of those and they cause extra lag. Now there was a bug to do with the mouse acceleration being much quicker than it was in prior versions. I kind of noticed this, but I just felt like it was a new 1.14 experience, but people reported this and they said this is actually a thing that was going on. So hopefully you guys noticed your mouse not moving too quickly across your screen. Now you can always go into your mouse settings here and adjust your sensitivity. So if you want to do something really crazy, hyperspeed, I already have my mouse set pretty much to hyperspeed in my Windows settings just because I like everything really fast. I don't have to constantly be moving my mouse a lot on my pad. It's always good to just do less movement with your hands. And this has to do with one of the changes, which is the raw input, which you can do right here. So you can turn it off or you can turn it on. They fixed the debug report so that it will report and actually make a file even if the name of the world has a space in it. And they also did some other changes in pre-release 2, including that villagers now will stock more items. So before, I think the most amount of items that they would store is 8. I think that's the same amount that they would buy as well, around 8 items, and then they would just completely not take in any more items. They also fixed it so that the villagers will now remember their gossip after becoming a villager zombie. The gossip is just the information that they spread among each other. They also did improvements to villager pathfinding, and they changed it so the villagers can now work without having to restock at the same time. It also changes so that if you went ahead and converted a villager zombie into a villager, they'll continue to gossip about this player who helped them much longer than they did before. This has to do when you have a zombie villager and you convert it over into a villager, it will actually reduce its prices because you helped it turn back into a villager, and it'll actually share that with other villagers nearby and you can lower the prices of your villagers. Now they're having a real problem to do with loading some chunks, causing a massive amount of lag that doesn't go away until the server is restarted. And they're trying to fix this bug and it's still partly not fixed, so hopefully they continue to look into that. Now in pre-release 4, they fixed a lot of bugs as well. They fixed the incorrect pillager texture as well as the reload command, and also the force load command are now available to game masters. This just means they don't have to be opt to use those commands. And this also does do with some changes that they did with the properties of servers. So now they have something called function permission level, which allows you to set the level of different commands. This controls which commands people can use in functions without having to be like the server up. Now they fixed a really major bug to do with villagers as they were not really shutting out their doors all the time when going through them. So that should allow it so maybe villagers and vindicators can't just walk in on them so easily now. They fixed a bug to do with fishes that come from the buckets. We're actually counting towards the aquatic mob cap. This was preventing normal mobs from spawning in the water. This bug has been kind of in 1.14 for quite a while. It's a good thing that they fixed this because one of the things we want to do on the ProtoTech server is to collect all the different types of fish, including all the tropical fish, which is a couple thousand fish. And obviously getting that many, you would have to definitely have a special farm. So you want to make sure that the aquatic mobs are spawning properly in order to capture all these. There was a problem to do with players relogging online, and everything that occurred while they were offline would immediately start happening right as they logged in. So like all the lightning strikes that could have occurred in the area over time would just all strike all at once. So it's a good thing that they fixed this because it sounds pretty nasty. There's a problem to do with tame foxes attacking their owner when the player would hurt themselves. So if I would like somehow damage myself, like shoot an arrow at myself, then the fox would see that I hurted myself and therefore they should attack the person that hurted me, and therefore they would attack me. A very strange bug, but they did fix it. Now during our Twitch stream of the 1.14.4 pre-releases, we're doing a lot of testing, and Luffy came across something really strange where when you drop a concrete powder over top of something that is waterlogged, such as like this chest here that's waterlogged, it would destroy the item and replace it. I went ahead and went back to pre-release 3 where this still exists to show you guys what it's like. So essentially if I drop this concrete over here, it's going to fall down and replace that chest there, and I got some stuff inside of it. And you can see how all the items go flying out. My box just picked up some items. Yeah, it's pretty crazy glitch. And it could be kind of bad because people might be trying to break something over like a chest and end up just breaking all their items and throwing them on the ground. And this pretty much works for any type of waterlogged block that doesn't go all the way up to the top surface of the block. So if I put like a trapdoor here, this won't work. Let's see, land like that. It also won't get waterlogged even if I do like that. But if I put the trapdoor like down here, anything that's shorter than one block, then it will go ahead and replace it. And during the stream, BoatMeat came on our testing server, and they were able to actually duplicate the concrete by using a trapdoor. So let's see if I can pull it off. So essentially what you have to do is you kind of have to make the concrete first think it's going to fall like this, and then switch it, so then it will kind of end up in two places all at once, and you can actually duplicate concrete like this. So let's see if I can get it. There, you can see I just did it. So I had one concrete block and I was able to duplicate it, and now I got two concrete blocks. Kind of a strange way to duplicate concrete. You can still use sand generators to duplicate them in these versions, but that was pretty funny discovery. And I also did some testing to do with dropping the concrete and pulling items like out of a chest at the exact same time, and we're able to get some ghost items by doing that. Now if you want to see those clips, I'll put links again those different types of ghost items. You can find that down in the description. But the bug was fixed. Now I'm back in pre-release 5, and you see if I drop concrete, it will just pop off as an item. Now the fixed problem to do with functions being able to run commands that normally shouldn't be able to be run, such as like the publish command or like the debug command. Now they fixed a pretty annoying bug that I seen someone else streaming on Twitch having problems with during the 1.14 snapshots. I believe it was also in some of the 1.14 releases as well, but the person was breaking some logs as they were going downwards, and that old bug that used to kind of like make it so that when you broke a block, the block would still kind of think it's still there and like shove the player off to the side, and over time it would just shove the player off the pillar and you could like fall to your death. I see Mumbo Jumbo also talked about this problem, and this bug was actually fixed, which is great because that was like a really old bug that just somehow got reintroduced just recently. I believe it's Moo Face. She was actually tearing down an iron farm, and she was the one that kind of brought this to my attention, because when she was tearing down like a single pillar of like logs, she was coming ahead and building up just extra scaffolding blocks on 3 sides, just so when she came to the top and would start tearing it down again, she wouldn't actually get shoved off. I thought that was so strange that it took 3 extra blocks to tear down 1 block. But she had good reason for it, and I'm really glad that bug is fixed. So there is still some major bugs to do with villagers. One of them that Grandma Mommy pointed out to me is that villagers can actually lose their beds. And this can actually cause tutor villagers to claim the same bed as well, which causes a lot of problems to do with villagers and villagers breeders, because villagers need to have their own beds as well as dedicate another bed for the babies in order to breed. And beds are also used for iron farms, so you might have problems with iron farms in these pre-releases. Now there's also another problem which is a little bit different. This is villagers lose their beds while sleeping. Babies are born with one parent not knowing where their bed is, which means that that bed can actually be occupied by a baby, can cause further problems, and you eventually have a villager that is not breeding. And Grandma Mommy actually has some videos kind of showing some of this occurring. And she also made a really simple villager breeder which breaks just because of this bug. And you can find that down in the description. Now over the pre-releases, there's also quite a few bugs to do with villagers, but they're slowly fixing them. Now if you guys do notice any other major bugs with villagers or anything else that's still in the game, be sure to go ahead and report it and tell me about it down in the comments so I can highlight it in the next video. And hopefully then it will be fixed. But those are all the changes from pre-releases 2 all the way up to pre-release 6. They're really pumping out these pre-releases, which is good to see that they're doing a lot of bug fixing, and they're probably trying to do a full release, but I feel like they still got quite a ways to go, as whenever they're trying to fix problems with the villagers, they're changing the villagers, and therefore it's actually creating some new bugs, which then they have to create new snapshots to try to fix those new bugs. But if you guys did enjoy this snapshot review video, be sure to go ahead and leave a like, as well as share this with someone else that might find this interesting. And if you guys haven't already, be sure to go ahead and subscribe. And if you guys like to take part in the snapshot testing that we do every Wednesday and Friday, you can find my schedule on my Twitch channel. Thank you guys for all watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.